Hello and welcome to the video on the requirements and basic steps on how to deploy CCH IntelliForms Directories Group Policy Objects, or GPO. Although this video is designed for those who are new to pushing software via GPO, it assumes you are familiar with basic server management. Therefore, common configuration tasks are not covered step by step. Also, the location of the Active Directory and GPO consoles may differ from the screenshots, depending on the Windows Server version you are using. As a rule, these consoles are usually located under Administrative Tools. Now let's get started. The topics in this video are configuring the CCH IntelliForms distribution point, creating and configuring an organizational unit, or OU, configuring the CCH IntelliForms group policy object, and testing the CCH IntelliForms deployment. The advantage for using GPO to install CCH IntelliForms are you can deploy CC to multiple endpoint workstations remotely, CCH IntelliForms onto endpoint workstations without administrator privileges, deploy CCH IntelliForms customized settings without user intervention.
Before continuing, make sure your environment meets the following prerequisites. Download ifsetup.msi, the installation file, from the address shown on your screen. The network must have Active Directory enabled. You must have a domain controller running Windows 2012 R2. You must be a domain administrator on the domain controller to use Active Directory users and computers and Group Policy Management Console. There must be a network share to be used as the distribution point. Microsoft.NET Framework 4.8 or above must be pre-installed on workstation endpoints. Workstation endpoints must be joined to the domain. Windows 8.1 and above are supported. There must be domain user accounts to assist with testing deployment. Note: if you want CCH IntelliForms to save client data to a location other than the default folder, such as a network share, or you wish to configure proxy settings globally, it is highly recommended to download the IntelliFormsAdmin.xml file at the URL shown on your screen.
First, we will cover configuring the CCH IntelliForms distribution point. As an administrator, log on to the file server, if you have one, or your domain controller. We will create a share to act as our distribution point. A distribution point is simply a location where the GPO can find the installation file and related components. GPO requires the installation file to be an MSI file, not an EXE file. As you can see, we've opened our C drive and created an install folder to act as our share. Right-clicking on the install folder and choosing Properties brings us to a location where we can select the Sharing tab. Click on Advanced Sharing. Check Share this folder and click on the Permissions button. Read share permissions are sufficient for the distribution point. Click on OK and click on OK again. Click on the Security tab. Make sure the System and Administrators groups have full control. If not, click Edit and apply full control for both groups. Click OK and close the Permission and Properties windows. Within the Install folder, create a subfolder called IntelliForms. Within the IntelliForms folder, we've created two subfolders. One subfolder should be named to identify the tax year of the CCH IntelliForms version you wish to install. In our example, we've created a 2017 folder to hold the CCH IntelliForms 2017 version's installation file. If you are installing another version of CCH IntelliForms, name the folder for that version's tax year. And because we are going to use the optional customization file, we have created a separate folder to hold it, Customize, since it can be used for subsequent installation years. Next, copy the IntelliForms installation file, ifsetup.msi, into the CCH IntelliForms tax year folder you just created. If you wish to deploy IntelliForms with a customized saved data path, such as to a network share or proxy settings, extract the IntelliForms admin.zip file so that IntelliForms admin.xml is created. Then copy the IntelliForms admin.xml file into the Customize folder you created earlier. Then open the IntelliForms admin.xml file in a text editor like Notepad. Use a UNC path or mapped drive to specify a location where IntelliForms is to save client forms and profiles. Note that users will need at least modify rights to this location. You may also enter proxy information, if required, into the file. You may use an IP address or proxy name. Also, enter the port the proxy is listening on. Disregard the Disable Program Update section as it is currently not used. Save the file once you have finished editing it. Our next step is creating and configuring an organizational unit. Log on to the domain controller using Domain Administrator credentials. Open Active Directory Users and Computers. Within the Active Directory Users and Computers, we created a new organizational unit, OU, called Chicago. Move the computers you wish to deploy CCH IntelliForms to into the new OU you just created. We can also create a new group in the OU and add the computers to it. A group will make it easier to apply a GPO than to select each computer separately. In our example, we created a work group called IF Computers and added all our workstations to it. Now we move on to configuring the CCH IntelliForms Group Policy object. Open the Group Policy Management Console. When the Group Policy Management Console opens, right-click on the new OU that you created. In our example, Chicago. Then click on Create a GPO in this domain and link it here. Give the GPO a name, such as IntelliForms, and click OK. Next, expand your new OU and right-click the IntelliForms GPO. Uncheck Link Enabled. If the menu disappears, right-click the IntelliForms GPO again and choose Edit. Then expand Computer Configuration, Policies, Software Settings. Then highlight Software Installation and right-click in the right pane. Choose New Package. Using a UNC path, navigate to the IntelliForms distribution point and select the ifsetup.msi file. In our example, we are navigating to the distribution point for the 2017 tax year version of CCH IntelliForms. Click Open. The Deploy Software window displays. Accept the default Assigned and click OK. After several moments, the package should appear in the right pane. Once you right-click on the package and choose Properties, on the General tab, rename the package so it is apparent what version of CCH IntelliForms is being installed. In our example, the version for tax year 2017 is being installed. An option is available to uninstall IntelliForms automatically if the computer leaves the scope of the GPO. This is an optional step, but as part of our demonstration, click on the Deployment tab and check Uninstall this application when it falls out of the scope of management and click OK. The right pane now displays CCH IntelliForms for the version you are installing. Since we are customizing our IntelliForms installation, we need to copy the IntelliForms admin.xml file onto each computer receiving the installation. To do this, under Computer Configuration, expand Preferences, Window Settings, and choose Files. Then right-click in the right pane and choose New File. In the Action field, Choose Create. We now need to tell the GPO where the IntelliForms admin.xml file is located and where it is going. In the Source File field, using a UNC path, type or use the Browse button to enter the path to the distribution point where the IntelliForms admin.xml file is located. The IntelliForms admin.xml file name needs to be entered at the end of the path. The Notepad window displays the full path of our demonstration environment. The destination file path is where the IntelliForms admin.xml file will be copied to on the endpoint workstations. This path will be slightly different on 32 and 64-bit versions of Windows, as listed on this slide. This is the completed file properties window. Click OK to close. The IntelliForms admin.xml file is displayed in the right pane of the Group Policy Management Editor. Click on the X in the upper right to close it. Make sure that the IntelliForms GPO is highlighted. Then, under Security Filtering, select Authenticated Users and click Remove. When prompted, do you want to remove this delegation privilege? Click OK. Then under Security Filtering, click Add. Using the Select User, Computer, or Group window, type in your computer names or group, or use the Object Types and Advanced buttons to filter and find the computers or group. In our demonstration environment, we selected the IF Computers group that we created in the Chicago OU earlier. Once your selections appear in this window, click OK. Under Security Filtering, your group or computers should display. Right-click the IntelliForms GPO and check Link Enabled. Last, we move on to testing the CCH IntelliForms deployment. To test your GPO, bring up a command window and type gp update /force and press Enter. You should receive confirmation that the policy update has been completed. You are now ready to test your GPO deployment on a workstation. Log on to an endpoint workstation with a restricted user account ID. To force the GPO to apply itself to the workstation rather than wait for the GPO update cycle, open a command prompt and type gp update /force and press Enter. If you are prompted to restart, type Y and press Enter. Then reboot the workstation. As the workstation comes back up, you should see Please Wait displayed. In some cases, this may take several minutes. Log back onto the computer with a restricted user account. With the CCH IntelliForms desktop shortcut displayed, it looks so far that our installation has been successful, but we need to check if the IntelliForms admin.xml file has been deployed. Note, if you do not see the CCH IntelliForms desktop shortcut, reboot your workstation again. It can take up to 3 reboots for the installation to deploy. Now, using Computer or File Explorer, navigate to the CCH IntelliForms installation folder and check to see if the IntelliForms admin.xml file exists. If it is not present, go back into your IntelliForms GPO and check the file destination entry. Make sure there were no typos. Make the required corrections, update the GPO on both the server and workstation, and reboot the workstation. Next, launch IntelliForms and enter the username and password when prompted. Note that if you entered proxy information, it should also appear on this screen. Click Apply. If authentication is successful, you should be prompted with the available form libraries for your subscription. Click on Continue and then OK. Once IntelliForms has completed its update, click on Preferences and choose the Forms tab. The saved data path should reflect the path entered in the IntelliForms admin.xml file. If you did not use the IntelliForms admin.xml file, the path will point to C Program Data, Wolters Kluwer, IntelliForms. You have completed a new installation of CCH IntelliForms using GPO. Thank you for watching this video on the requirements and basic steps on how to deploy CCH IntelliForms using Windows Active Directory's group policy objects. For additional information and solutions pertaining to IntelliForms, log into our support website at the address shown on your screen, click the link to CCH IntelliForms, or enter search terms to search our database of knowledge base articles. Wolters Kluwer, when you have to be right.